We have a program or a project that we've begun in Chicago and in Cook County as well, and with the state of Illinois, where previously we had a mayoral policy caucus on reentry that Mayor Daley in the city of Chicago put together. The governor of Illinois also had a governor's commission on reentry, both of them studying reentry issues. And what we found was that we came up with the same findings, and we realized that we need to begin to break out of our silos a little bit and build bridges between those silos, because we're serving the same populace in dealing with the same issues. So what we did was we developed a mayoral policy caucus on reentry with the help of Ariel Investments, private investment fund firm headed by John Rogers in Chicago. So you have the public-private partnership there, and then also Chicago Metropolis 2020 and its executive director Paula Wolf, focusing on Chicago and Chicagoland for the year 2020 and how we can make sure that we're well positioned as time moves on and ahead of the curve on different issues. So we developed a collaborative on reentry. It includes the city, the county, the state. So it's the city of Chicago, Cook County, and the state of Illinois. It includes probation, parole, Department of Corrections, the police department, the sheriff's department. It also includes all the sister agencies within the city, and all the agencies within the county, and all the agencies within the state. But more importantly, we've partnered with the community. So we have community-based organizations that are a part of this collaborative, as well as faith-based agencies. So we're all working together. What we did originally was we looked at the 4 areas that were identified in the Governor's Commission on Reentry, and also by the Mayoral Policy Caucus on Reentry for the City of Chicago, were housing, juvenile reentry, education, and alternatives to incarceration. So over the last 2 years, we've been meeting on a quarterly basis to discuss these issues. We have subcommittees that work on the issues. It is an engagement between all the, it's a multi-sectoral approach and a multi-agency approach towards addressing these issues. One of the primary objectives that we had was to engage community stakeholders. At the end of the day, the clients that we're working with, they're not always going to be too keen on engaging people at the sheriff's department or the police department or Department of Corrections or the county jail, or government agencies as well. There might be a trust issue, just being honest and being transparent about that. So one of the things that they are very aware of and trusting are folks from the community that are in their community, that are working in their community, and that they've worked with over the years. So one of the areas where we focused on is how do we develop a partnership between the community-based agencies and the faith-based non-for-profits, along with the government agencies, and then how do we tie that into providing a continuum of care and of service for folks from the time that they are incarcerated or detained until the time they get out. Normally and historically, the way that a lot of these operations work and a lot of the programs work is, and also moving, if I may, beyond just a program that's successful to a system that's successful. So you're not talking about pockets of 25, 50, 100, 200 people, but you're talking about an entire system that has a continuum that can prove successful over a period of time. That's the real challenge that we're confronted with right now in the area of reentry. But one of the things that we've looked at is we've partnered with the county, Cook County Jail, and Sheriff Tom Dart has partnered with Mayor Richard Daley and in Chicago. And what we've looked at is how do we begin to work with folks while they're in jail when we know they're coming out into the community. We know that there's 3 communities primarily where we see a high number of folks coming in and out. In fact, those 3 communities, 40% of the male population or more has been incarcerated at least once in their life. So, we really need to be honest with what we're dealing with. So one of the things we've looked at is who are the agencies, how do we engage those community-based partners, and who are they? Once we identify who they are, and the ones, not just the ones that we feel are credible, but the ones that the inmates feel are credible, the ones that are those who are reentrants, the ex-offender population, they feel are credible. People that speak to them, that they believe in, that they believe aren't just with them, but are for them as well, not just there to cash a check at the end of the day. So once you identify those agencies, you partner with those agencies, and then the city is partnered with the county. So now we can get these agencies into the county jail to start working with folks that we've identified are going to be returning to certain communities. So now there's a continuum of care, so it's not just upon your release, we give you a notebook or a file and 4 or 5 business cards for you to go out on your own initiative, make some cold calls. but now you've actually met Chris Mallette. You've interfaced with him. He's talked to you while you're locked up. And now when you're coming out, he's in your community when you come out. You don't have to seek me out, run me down, hunt me down. You know exactly where I am, and I'm not far from you. So that's one of the ideas and a suggestion, or an example of how you can make it work. But to get that done, I think the forward thinking and the planning process, I think first you have to have buy-in on a high level. If not a high level, then just a local level. But ideally, you want it on a high level so that there's political muscle behind it and a belief that this is what we need to do. Someone who can bring the different players to the table that you need to be successful, and someone who can ensure that this is something that's going to be important and part of the blueprint for your city or the blueprint for your county. Just the way you're going to just do business. Again, getting from we're just going to do a few programs to we're going to set up a system that's going to be sustainable over time. And that requires the political buy-in, but also the buy-in from law enforcement. I think if you think you could do reentry on your own, I think you're blind. You might be deaf and some other things as well, because that's not, everybody's shouting a different message to us. So the reality of it is we have to partner with one another, and we also, especially in these lean economic times, we have to be able to leverage resources from one another. And resources aren't always just the financial part of it. Some of our resources are the partners that we have. The county may be working with partners that the city may not necessarily be working with. And we may have, looking where the strengths are and building on those strengths. If the city's strength is in transitional jobs and workforce development, and the county's strength is, simply they have the folks incarcerated, they're not incarcerated, the city trails them and nails them, with law enforcement, the police department. The county jails them, the state jails them, but at the end of the day, we're all going to fail them if we don't get our act together. So how do we get that act together, and what does that actually look like? I think it looks like partnerships. It looks like collaborations where we build again on our strengths. So in particular, the program I just spoke on, how do we tie in our transitional jobs programs for reentrants? Those ex-offenders that are coming home. How do we tie what we do and we do well into an earlier process? And we can't do it without the partnership with the county. How does the county ensure that these individuals are going to be best positioned once they do the programming that they have for them when they come out, so that they don't return?